Good day, my followers and my viewers. Let me first of all use the opportunity to thank you guys for all your support, all your love, all what you have been doing for us. One way or the other, we say we thank you all. But today we are on a serious topic that you guys need to pay good attention on, so you can learn in case of tomorrow. So today we are diving into a questions that has shaped history, destroyed leaders, and exposed human nature in a way we can't ignore. So today's topic sound like, does power corrupt people, or does it simply reveal who they truly are? When someone gains authority, influence, or control, do they become worse, or were those threats always there just waiting for opportunities for them to be leaders? Today we will explore whether powers change a person or unmarks them. For the motion, being odd, power corrupts people, while for the motion, Kingsley, power revealed people. So I would not like to waste our viewers' time today. I want us to go straight to the point, tell them how, if powers corrupt people or if power reveal who they truly are. So Binod, I would like you to tell us, does power really corrupt our leaders, or were they like that? Really tell us if power, because you're on the motion that power corrupts.
Yes.
So let us know.
Thank you very much. So, as you clearly stated, I'm of the notion that power indeed corrupts people. And I'm going to be building this. I'll be using a theoretical background as the basis upon which I advance my argument. The idea is that systems shape people. System maps out how people, it maps out ideology, it maps out how people think, it maps out how people perceive society. Systems that people find themselves plays a major role. The DNA of any individual plays very little role when it comes to societal disposition. DNA actually plays major role in the biological makeup of somebody, but not on his societal disposition. Now, from that note, from the understanding that systems shape people. Now, let's look at power as a system. Power, therefore, we can infer from this that power, therefore, shapes people. And by shaping, it has a direction. It is unidimensional in nature. Unidimensional in the sense that it is intoxicating towards the negative direction. That is, if we assume negative to be bad bad leadership style, or positive to signal good leadership style. So I would like to maintain that power indeed intoxicates in a negative way, such that it shapes one who can seemingly be good and shape that person to be bad, such that his action tends to portray bad leadership as against their innate, different from whatever innate attitude or behavior that they have. Yeah, that's our opinion.
So Kingsley, so does power reveal who someone truly are?
Yeah, I would say that power. So first of all, thank you very much, for this wonderful opportunity. Yeah, I would say I'm in the motion that supports that power reveals people, the actual character, not thought. So if you come with the power and you're acting bad, I think you are really bad, not the power. You understand that made you bad. So what if you take it this way? If my opponent here say that power corrupts people, that means you do let's assume in a level playing ground, right? You should do same to everyone that comes to power. But that's not really the case. History distorts that. If you look at, for example, Nelson Mandela, right? That came into power from prison. When he came into power, he has the power, right? He did not imprison his oppressors, because he was oppressed, repressed, imprisoned. But when he came into power, he did not revenge. He did not fight his oppressor. But what did he do? Reconcile. He used the power to do despite everything. So if my opponent here say that power corrupt people equally, he should do same to everybody. But now, if he say anybody that is good, with power, that man has always been this person, right? So that's why you really need to know that once you come, if you are good, power will use. You do that goodness because of you have power now to do. You spread the goodness all around with the power you have. So if you are bad, you spread the badness.
So drawing from history, so using historical bearing as case study here, if you mention Nelson Mandela, I would mention people, leaders who have signed their name in the signs of time, who impact. And you mentioned a playing ground. Power intoxicates, but not always. Intoxication doesn't necessarily connote same level. Even in the playing ground, intoxication doesn't connote sameness. It's the reason why two people will take the same amount of alcohol, yet one will be sober, as if he didn't take anything, while the other will be falling in the gutter. Power doesn't it creates an avenue for one to showcase himself, but it actually do corrupt the person. Now, if there's somebody who emerged, who has power as they emerge to be good, that's a very special case that we look at a different term. Now, I'm going to draw you through history about people who were known to be abused, and when they gain power, it's change. For example, I will refer you back to during the Chinese Revolution, when they were fighting against the imperialist government. What happened was we have people like Mao Zedong, right, who was preaching equality. People should be treated fairly, equality, fairness, etc. Right? But when he gained power, what happened was that he became first of all they toppled the imperialist government and they became a one-party rule, and they concentrated power on the one-party rule, and they enacted fierce incentives. Now that is one person who was actually said to be good initially, and when he assumed power, he became bad. Look at Robespierre from the French Revolution. He was a moral purist. That was what he was called before he actually gained power. But immediately he gained power, what this guy did, he killed thousands and thousands of innocent people. In fact, the killing was so great that he has to create a machine called the guillotine so that they will be able to kill people more. Now, Robespierre was a very good guy, but immediately they toppled the feudal system by killing the monarchy, right? What happened was he became...
Can you explain this person to our viewers so they can...
Okay, yeah, so
make research.
Yeah, during the French Revolution, right? During that time, the French where the system of government was monarchism, and that brings about what we call the feudal system. Feudal system is where we have the elites at the top, which is the king who owns everything. Then we have the noble who controls, and then we have the lower class. Now that the elites just 3%, the lower class are 97%. So how it works is, well, that's it. So there was a power asymmetry, right? And then what happened was we have people like Robespierre who said, no, let's topple the government. Let's remove monarchy so that everybody can live fine. The reason was because even if I own land, it's not my own. Even if I farm, it's not my own. I'll collect it. So the guy was saying, no, we should create a level ground for everybody, equality, etc. So when they successfully toppled the king and they killed him, what happened, bro, was one of the most devastating and gory moments in the history of human. When he became the leader, he became so corrupted by the power he assumed, such that he killed so much people that the normal killing was not even enough to kill people. They have to take the machine so that they will kill people more. And that's one person who was good, and he became that. If you look at the Russian Revolution, the same thing happened. Lenin was a guy who has moral disposition, moral bearing. He was a very good guy, right? And then when they bring about the revolution, he assumed power. Now, what happened was, again, a concentration of power to one party and enforcement, strict enforcement, such that the citizens began to suffer.
So was it the power that corrupts?
Yes, it was the power that intoxicated them, because you could easily trace back their earlier life. You could say, oh, this person is good. But when the king got power, even those ideals they were preaching, because one thing that Robespierre did in the French Revolution, one thing he was always preaching against is killings. Why would you kill innocent people? But what it killed more than even the monarchy system. If you check Nigeria, if you check African colonialism, sorry, I'm speaking long. If you check colonialism as a whole, what happened? We have liberators, right? People who, let's liberate our people so that we'll be able to live right. But what was the aftermath? These folks, right? So you realize that people have a clear-headedness about how they feel like, oh, I'm going to drive this power in a way that will benefit mankind, benefit everybody. But immediately it gets to that position, it corrupts them, and you realize that their ideals, the ideals they are actually interacting with at that point, it's different from when they were sitting.
Okay, thank you. I think I get you. Well, first of all, I think my uncle here, I think you have to give us time equally, right? But my opponent's taking too much time. So I'm trying as much as possible to summarize.
Make my followers also understand.
Yeah, it takes more time in this explanation.
There was so much
but I enjoyed the explanation.
Oh,
we'll work on that.
It's not about what you enjoy. I think it's about equal playing field there.
But I think
now you have the floor.
Yeah. I think
our audience needs to understand what is going on. That's what matters.
Okay. You see all the history you just gave, right? It's true because I take most of them and we are right in some aspects. But what if the power reduce who they do it at?
Okay. I know you will say this.
Take for instance, you can't. Number one, these guys are Marxists, right? And they understand politics, how politics go. You can't trust a man word. Just like my opponent, I know him right from time now. He says never trust any man, right? You can't trust a man by just what he says. You come to power with looking for whose support, right? And how will you get that people's support? You have to come with language they understand. Marxism supports you speaking to the workers, looking at the workers' plight, talking to them. Oh, these sufferings are too much. Just use that as anybody, any tyrant that wants to come to power. That's how you come to power. But once you get the power, it reveals who you are. So if somebody, you can't just tap somebody a few weeks. Who are you to do that? What qualifies him to be is it by his word or by his right name? So that power is the final, how will I say, final bus stop that actually reveals that, oh, this guy is not really good. And if you can still, you can tell by the power. When there's no power, it reveals how.
So you're saying you're saying we cannot tell somebody is bad or good if they do not assume power.
No, you can.
So what are you saying?
You can. No,
so what are you saying?
You can with not judge a word. But now what my opponent just mentioned is what he said. He was like everything should be equal. He was preaching equality. You can't just base on that.
Example.
I was giving an example simply. But people observed him, his way of life.
Let's come to Nigeria now. Let's look for someone in Nigeria that is a good person. And after he gained the power, the person becomes corrupt.
Well, actually, it is hard for me to be able to, because I seriously do not have a deep understanding.
Have you been into power in any position, whether in school or something?
Yes, I will cite myself as an example. I was the head boy in my secondary school. But before I became the head boy, I always disliked the idea of, I did a boarding school, I always disliked the idea of my seniors beating people, right? Yeah. And I hated the idea of passion, I'll tell you that. In fact, I was thinking about a world where, both seniors and juniors are living equally well, they're living their life, there's no kind of asymmetry. I assume I'm going to tell you what I do.
You summarize that that's half the point.
Don't worry, you will get there, you will have the time. What I did was, not only did I punish students, I forced them to do things that I would have not myself do. And I justified by saying, well, you, for example, I asked them to always speak English, don't ever speak Hausa language. But I told them that me, I will speak Hausa. You must speak in English. The reason is because your fellow mates can all, oh, yeah, it was the head boy that commanded me. But if I should speak English, my mates would be so. It was a way of me justifying my duty. Now, but initially, conviction, I hated the idea, but I punished over little after I punished.
So you mean you didn't flog when you were in power?
What I did flog, that's what I'm saying.
But when you say when you're not in power, you
dislike. I'm saying the power corrupted me. When I I was not in power, I was this boy who hated the idea of being a senior and flogging, punishing your juniors,
No,
or trying
they
to.
different. I think my opinion. I want
Yeah,
to
listen,
understand.
listen. Yeah,
No. I think the view.
Let him learn.
yes, yes. I assume, I thought that when
So the power corrupts
when I
you.
became the head boy, it changed because of the nature, the systems of power.
But how sure that you are not having that intention to flog?
So actually, that is
because you might be saying it,
Yeah,
but
that is the
when you
problem.
have the intention that
There's
you're
no
going
way-
to flog.
There's no way for you.
That is
There's no way for you to know if I'm telling the truth or not. The best you can do is to take me by my word. Point. You cannot say no to something unless if you have the basis of saying no.
You know. Actually, this phrase that they say powers always corrupt. It's just an excuse that you've been given for leadership, right? We leave the leader to blame the system. Okay, it's bad. It's not because it's bad. It's the power that corrupts it. You know, that is just an excuse for failure. I don't think that's what that phrase is meant for. But I don't think goodness, power doesn't change conscience, right? It doesn't change conscience no matter what. If you are good, you are going there. You do good. Power assist you. Imagine giving a generous person money, he spend more generosity. Or giving a greedy person money, he hoard it. Or giving an insecure person money, he becomes dominant. That is just how power is. Power is an amplifier with the words inherent to you. Power multiplies. That's how power is. Take it or leave it.
What is the
Anyway,
definition of inherent?
inherent, any character, anything you have, whether cruelty, whether goodness.
From what point?
Whether,
From what point is that inherentness? You get it? From what point from what point is one served a certain character? From what point in one's life?
it can be at any point. What do you mean by that?
What I want to let you know, sir, is that systems shape people.
No, some character can be based on assimilation. You need to study him,
Exactly.
right? Not the system per se.
Listen, when we say system, we're not talking about we're talking about external factors affecting somebody's behavior psychologically.
And I know.
So
I
both
know.
reading or whatever it shapes. So now what I want to ask you is, at what point can we point at somebody and say, oh, this is somebody's character? Is it from conception when they were born? Were they born with it?
No.
So when you say inherent, that's what inherent means. Inherent means character that you were born
Inherent in you. Adapt. Okay. I think what you could just say is just that I think the language you use was bad. Not all this.
Do I know if you actually hijacking English language?
Oh.
Exactly.
Okay. I think I get where you're coming from. But what has always been in you, right? The power amplifies it. Not
So what do you say?
power. Listen, power doesn't change or make virtue. It's always work with what is already inside.
Okay,
right?
listen to my point. I'm trying to make a claim here that systems change people. The system can be power, or it could be economical system, or whatever type of system. Power is another form of system, right? Do you agree with me that systems change people? If no, why not? What makes you think system doesn't change people? But if you agree with me that systems change people, then you have to agree with the premise that indeed power changes. Power has the criterion to change. So do you agree that system, society, economic system, power system change people? It changes them.
I think your question is manipulative. It's a fact that you are trying to say.
It is a mathematical induction.
No.
If A is equals to B, associativity, if A is equals to B,
But
B is
we're talking about power.
We're talking about power here.
Do you get what I'm saying? Power is a variable.
No.
When you're not in power, you might have a different kind of people.
No, let me explain to you what I'm talking about here. Let me explain to you so that you get my point.
System change people in the form of if system kind of failed you, you are changed.
Now,
Right?
good.
But power is that there's already power in ground. They came into the power. Will it change you or not? Listen,
I think
if your family didn't kidnap and the society didn't help you, I say the government didn't help you to change your perspective.
Exactly.
You won't be that patriotic citizen anymore.
Exactly.
That's when the not power society tell you, then you change.
That exactly.
Right? You might not participate in election, might not obey rules and regulations anymore. but there's already power in play. They put you there.
Do you
Okay, do
Yes,
go.
now,
So
yes,
that's
of
two
course.
different things. Right?
Systems are structures that are already existing. For example, in a society where something happens, society where your parents, the example you used, were kidnapped. The society where insecurity was low, and your parents were kidnapped. You were placed in a system. Now, there was a distortion to that system. The distortion is the change in your family structure. Create another form of system for you. That's what system is all about. System is any variable at all that one can be placed into to interact with the environment.
Yes.
Power is a system. So you cannot just say, "Oh,
but
listen to me. Listen to me."
But those are two different things.
Good. No. If we're talking about systems, right? You must agree that yes, they are different variables, but they are all systems.
Now we choose power particularly in our conversation.
Now in this conversation, if we choose power, you have to, through induction, right? Inferences, you have to be able to walk through analytical stuff, because most of your argument is emotionally cute. Yes, because it's analytically.
Didn't I do insights from Nelson Mandela? See?
No,
when he came into power, he didn't change him.
Listen,
right?
Yes, listen to me.
Even Lincoln, when Lincoln came, he squared democracy, right? When Stalin came,
just listen to my point. You need to be able to have an analytical depth to be able to arrive at a credible conclusion. If you do not, if you skip phases, you just as if you're just being emotional. You have an idea and you jump to your idea. You need to be able to follow critical steps to be able to see how things work, or they need to be visible. You cannot just come and say, "Oh, my name, I am boy." How are you a boy? Oh, the reason is because I am X chromosome. You should be able to say that. So I'm drawing you through base logic. Base logic in the sense that you have to be able to agree to some sort of proposition to be able to make your premise. You have to agree to some sort of premises to be able to make a proposition valid at the end of the day. So if the premises that you use to build upon your point are not a flaw, it means your point itself doesn't carry weight. So that's why we need to be able to walk through that premise. So my point, therefore, is you have to be able to agree or disagree with something. Is that you agree that system change people or not? If you agree, if you do not agree,
but I want to answer your question. I want to ask you a question. Can a genuinely good person stay good after gaining power?
Well, no, actually. The person will have to navigate certain things, structures within that power. And at the end of it all, how do we define good? You realize that, what is your definition of good? Are we seeing it from afar and say, "Oh, he's good"? But if you delve deeper through a micro lens, you'll be able to see structures in place that you say, "Oh, this is not really necessarily good." Of course, output, we use outputs, right? But I want us to be analytical here, right? Analytical, that is drawn from biological understanding and systemic understanding, right? The idea remains, and it has been fully established by scholars, that people are not born with social inherent qualities. It is the society that are put into that molds them, that shapes them. And the society is a system. That's how it works. So you don't give it to a boy. The reason why most of the people in the north are Muslim was because they were born in Muslim society. So when you say people who assume power actually bad, you cannot just single a single person out of that and say, "Oh, this crippled your entire argument." You look at the numbers, right? Now, people in the Igbo are mostly Christian because the society there shapes them to be Christians. Now, what this means is you don't give birth to a boy with the idea that, "Oh, you become a Muslim or a Christian." So when he is put into that society, it shapes how he thinks, and then he becomes that version of himself.
But the situation of power, in the situation of power is totally different.
It is not different. That is where you're getting it wrong. Power is a system with its own variables. Systems are actually structures with variables.
But powers are not for everybody. Powers are not for everybody.
Yes, now. Power is actually a system of its own with its own variables. Now, what are those variables? When you assume power, accountability drops. You can get away with a lot of things. Your ability to be able to take risk increases. So all those things are variables that infringes on human biological makeup and changes their perception of nature. So if you observe, if you study the variables that comprise power, you realize that it is enough to inform a change in that person.
If you are given a power, now let me say you are given a position of of the youth. Okay, you want to be president. Okay, you are dreaming to be
I
president.
think we should go to the high track.
Okay, if you are doing the position to be president today now, will you work on the way you are, or it will corrupt you? Because you know, as
Yeah.
it's said that
Yeah.
Nigeria is corrupt.
Yeah, yeah.
So will it corrupt you as the president, or it will reveal who you truly are?
It will be who actually are. Now, but first of all, we have to make an agreement about something, right? There's something that is called necessary evil, necessary good. It's an evil, but it's necessary. If you see me taking some drastic action, you won't just say, corruption has. I might take some very drastic, brutal action that is for the greater good, right? So you can't just.
So that doesn't mean you are corrupt.
Would you take
That-
that action if without the power?
No, I won't. But
Exactly.
But that is who I
What
am.
made you
Well,
to take
No, it's
that?
not because of the power. No, the power amplifies who I am, multiplies who I am. And my day, there is a lot of things going on in my head.
Exactly.
But I won't come and tell you because I don't have power yet.
Exactly.
You see me like, oh, this guy is cool, or he's just a cool guy, he doesn't talk a lot, but deep within me. You know, so to describe me, I'm so, no, that guy doesn't have issue. Just give him power, I think he's a good guy. When I get there, it will reveal what really am. That thing that has been going on in my head, I've been looking for power to review it. The power will help me review it. Not necessarily, I might be corrupt, I might just, I can just say, maybe someone might get into power. We just love this flashy and exotic lifestyle. They've been praying for it things. But
That has been him.
yeah, it has been in him. When he see a fine guy, he admires it, but he can't help it because he doesn't have power yet, right? It has been in him. But once he gets into power, you will see that this guy that is a very humble guy. You know, we have not seen him with, we have not seen him like this before. But power actually reveals his test. His luxury life.
How could you tell that is a revelation rather than a pivot? How can you tell that it is simply revealed who he is rather than there was a distortion in his speech?
I think if you want to go to that lane, so I think I take the two questions. How could you tell that I corrupt him too? I can ask that same question.
Well, actually, that
Actually, it doesn't reveal.
Exactly. Now, it's the reason why we need to be able to have a system where we'll be able to tell somebody's character from the onset, and be able to tell that the character was power. The reason why when I mentioned Robespierre was the moral purist, you said, "Oh, how do you know that was the moral purist? Perhaps he was just giving the people what they want." But if we cannot have that, then what are we saying?
Akam, Benoit, we have heard strong arguments, both sides. One saying power transform, the other saying power expose. Now, I would like to give you guys just 5 seconds to summarize. So, Kesley, how will you say power reveal oneself?
Because I've looked through history, right? I've seen good people. I've seen people that would not even tend to be good, but this is time I can't mention them, right? Because I wish there's enough time that came into power and they use that power for good, because that's who that always been, right?
Okay.
So yeah.
I have the deep historical and scientific knowledge. As a matter of fact, I'm actually a psychologist. I understand how people think, how the human brain works, and how information coming into the human brain distorts their brain. That is the basic or the base layer of the human biological makeup. And from that, we cannot chase science.
So what's the point of that?
The point is,
I'm okay with
it
this
changes people. The way the human brain works, they get distorted.
It changes or it corrupts.
Changes.
Okay.
When we're talking about corruption is a change.
Okay, that's good. I love today's discussion. It actually shows that you guys were prepared. But power is not just about leadership. It is a test of character, whether it creates corruption or reveals it. One thing is clear: power magnifies who you are. So I would like to appreciate my viewers, my followers, who took their time to watch our videos. Thank you very much. Kinsley, what do you have for my followers?
I want to say a very big thank you. We have seen your support here and we really appreciate it, right? Just like, subscribe and follow our channels.
Benoit, I'm not allowed you to talk before you give them your historical words. Thank you guys. Okay, now let's leave Benoit to talk.
No.